Welcome to Curious with Josh Peck. Start the show. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Curious Podcast. I'm Josh Peck, and this is my pod, and you are the listener, and you are incredible. Thank you for coming back. I can't believe you're here. I can't believe you come back every week. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome. Also, where you been? You know, we're like 21 episodes deep over here. What are you new? No, I'm just kidding. I really appreciate you coming and tell your friends. Tell not your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell them all. Tell strangers. Tell people that you haven't talked to in years, and you're like, "How is Frank? I haven't talked to him in forever. Does he have the same number? Is he one of those people that changes their numbers?" Famous people have a habit of changing their number all the time. I would assume because people get their number and then, like, weirdos are like, prank calling them and whatnot. But it's always, there are certain people that are of a certain level of celebrity that I'll run into every, like couple times a year. And sure as shit, they've got a new number every time I see them. They're like, "Do you have my new number?" I'm like, yeah, is it the 347? No. No, and I'll be like, wait, hold on. And they'll be like, no, it's 626. I'm like, you got a whole new area code? Like, this is not just a new number. This is a new location. But I don't know. I've had the same number for many years, so maybe I'm just not famous enough to warrant a number change. But it's good to have goals. Good to have things you're working on. Guys, I hope you had an incredible weekend. I hope that your weekend lived up to the hype that Friday afternoon told you about. Right? Because like Friday afternoon, anything is possible. The weekend is limitless. God, so many opportunities, so many activities possible, so many things to achieve and to enjoy. And then, God, Saturday rolls through and you slept too late, and now like you're like, what am I gonna do? And will that be fun? Because you've got like too many options, and now you're racked with fear about, should I commit to something? And I know I said during the week that I was supposed to see my buddy Dirk, but God, I just don't. It's not gonna be fun. He wants to go antiquing, and that's weird. And God, I don't know. And then Saturday night, you crush it, you go hard because you owe it to yourself, right? It's like all week we're like, God, I worked so hard. I can't wait to destroy myself Saturday night, so I can just drink myself into oblivion and make my liver and kidneys beg for mercy. And then that's how I'll reward myself. I'll just destroy myself this weekend for a hard work week. And then Sunday, you're useless, or at least I am. Because I'm just trying to recover, trying to get it together. You know what I mean? Trying to get that, get my electrolytes up and all my bad blood levels, because my hormones and my crib cycles, they're completely off because of the crimes I committed against myself the night before. So then it's just, whatever Sunday looks like. It's rough. And then, of course, the Sunday blues set in like around 12:01 p.m., and then it's just anticipation of what the week's going to be like, and how did it go this fast, and why is this the life I chose, right? Are you anything like that? Look, if you're not, then God bless. Good for you. And look, even if you are, it's all good, because you want to know why? Because you're not alone, because we're not special, because everyone's going through some version of it, be it the richest, most successful person in the world and down to the person who's just scraping by. You know what I mean? We all got issues. Everybody's dealing with something. I think. I'm pretty sure. I think. I don't know. I've met a lot of miserable famous people, so I'm just glad I'm not that famous. That must be why I'm relatively happy, because I'm just sort of teetering on. I'm famous adjacent, which is fine with me. You know what I mean? I have settled right into mediocrity, and it feels the water is fine. Let me tell you. I'm going to be a father soon, and that's something I think about a lot. And I'm sorry if I talk about it a lot, but look, first-time father, deal with it. It's like going to be another couple months, and then over. And then I'll talk about the kid incessantly, I'm sure. I'm not going to be that father that makes his wallpaper on his phone his kid's face. I'm not going to do it. I'm making a stand right now. I'm drawing the line in the sand. Nope, not going to be that guy. I'm not going to have a picture ready every time someone asks about my kid. I'm not going to be that father. I'm going to be low key. How's your kid? Fine. Just fine? Yeah, fine. Existing. Doing, baby things. Rolling. Isn't it just the best? It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Is your kid, God, is he exceptional? Tell me all the ways in which he's special. Not special. Just baby. Doing baby stuff. Does everything babies do. Crawls a little bit, sits, eats a lot, craps, sleeps, cries. He doesn't cry that much. Repeat. Just those things. Repeat. He does what babies do. Not exceptional. Exceptionally, exceptional at existing, at staying alive. Very good at sustaining life. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. If I'm that father, I would punch myself in the face. Yeah, no, I mean, I make jokes and stuff. I just don't want to be too corny and cliche about it all, but I'm sure I will be inevitably. I remember the moment we started going to like the baby doctor, like the OB/GYN and you know, and they would show us a baby on the ultrasound or like on this 3D imaging future thing where your baby kind of looks like an alien and within seconds everything that people had said about parenthood became true. Like I started deeply worrying about a thing that is not me. And that is probably, I mean, I worry for my mom and my wife and the people who I love most, but all of a sudden there was like this tie. It was like worrying about myself, only worse. And I didn't even know that was possible because I'm so self-centered and self-obsessed that whenever anything threatens me, it is literally the biggest deal. But now it was like worrying for myself, but worse. It was heightened. It was like, and the control, there was just no control. And the kid is fine, like it's all good, but at every turn you're taking a new test and you're praying that their brain develops and that their body's developing correctly and that all the things, because you don't want them to have any challenges, or life is hard enough when you're just like, in quotes, normal, let alone if you've got some disability or some challenge, and you just want them to have all the tools necessary to get through life. And it's a trippy thing. And I'm in fear and anticipation of how my life will adjust and change when this kid gets here, as well it should. Because if you're fucking going to the club 3 nights a week and you've got a newborn baby, your priorities are fucked. And get it together. Because what? Why are you at the club? Your kid is literally at home watching baby Einstein in their high chair eating Cheerios. And that is a moment you should be there to enjoy, not trying to like weasel your way into some rich Russian dude who got bottle service and is surrounded by models. That's not your life. Unless you're the rich Russian dude, in which case, yo, can I chill at your table next time I'm at the club? Just kidding. Anyway, guys, on today's episode, Tommy Chong, Cheech and Chong, Tommy Chong, I mean, legendary comedian, actor, yeah, he's that dude. He's the dude. He was so nice to allow me into his home, to interview him, and I so appreciate it. And it's a really interesting interview. We cover a lot of subjects, and I'm excited for you guys to listen. So here's Tommy.
I'm at the point now in my life, I always have been. I'm a cowboy from Calgary originally. And
where they have the rodeo.
Yeah, I've been playing guitar since I was 8 and playing for dances and that since I was 10. And so I'm one of those musicians that work because we have to. I was never a guy that would sit and practice or, learn my instrument at all. I would just play enough to make the money. And then I got better as I played with better guys, better people. And so my whole thing was, with entertainment especially, is that I can learn anything because there's nothing you can't learn. The problem with a lot of people is that they learn too much, and so they're afraid to go ahead because they don't feel that they have enough. They put themselves up against the greats.
Sure.
And you should never do that. At least that's what I never did, because I only had to compete with myself, and that way, if I had to learn a tune, I just learned the tune. I didn't have to learn it as good as someone else, and so that was my concept of being happy more than anything. Because I was happiest when I was playing music to make other people happy, for dancing and everything else. And so that's been my whole life, especially with this fiddle player that I started playing with. He taught me two things. He says, keep it simple and give them what they want. And that was two things. And so I've kept my whole life like that. But but when you're a cowboy, you're always writing songs about your woman leaving you.
Sure. Country music in general.
Yeah, yeah. Rap, they're always bragging about
Posturing.
How many women they can get, how make love to me, baby, I can show you what to do. Cowboys are always saying, you picked a fine time to leave me, Lucio.
It's true.
Yeah. Four hungry children and crops in the field. And so I've always had that. I'm so lucky to have her feeling that it's kind of melancholy in a way, but it works for me. It works for her too.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot of rappers who are like, I'm financially responsible. I show my woman mad respect. Yeah. We just opened a joint checking account,
Just a trivia thing. I was on was it the internet? Twitter.
Yeah,
Twitter.
yes.
Twitter. And I looked at there was a thing about why all the statues have small penises.
Oh.
Did you read that?
No.
Cracked me up. And then he showed all these great statues in that. Small penises. And you know what the answer is? The small penis shows intellect.
Ain't that a bitch?
And big penises show animal, ignorance or, bad guys,
Yeah.
And so I said, oh, shit, I'm an intellect.
Me too. Oh, my God. Finally. It explains it, and yet doesn't make me feel any better about it.
No, but it just makes so much sense, man. Because think about it. Little penises can get into places where big penises can't.
I like that. You need to meet my wife, and because I think she'll find a lot of
Wisdom there?
comfort in these facts. So it's funny. We were talking about this before we started recording, but it's incredible. Like, I can really identify with you in having my name be synonymous with another person, and being part of a duo.
Yeah.
Could you have ever imagined when you first met Cheech that 50 years later that your guys, that it would be so much a part of your story and history? Did you ever foresee that?
Well, I don't roll that way.
Yeah.
I don't ever think that way. I barely have enough to think about next week.
Gotcha.
Barely next week. Next year, forget it. It's too far in the future. Never thought of it. But in retrospect, looking back, I've always had a partner. I've always, starting with the fiddle player, Mel, the old big old cowboy. So I've always had a partner. And then my second partner was a full-blood native Indian named Dick Bird. He just died recently, but he was a big, tall Sioux. I guess he was Sioux native. No, Sarsi Indian. And we met in Army Cadets, and he played guitar and sang. And he always had me come and accompany him. And when Elvis made it big, he was like an Elvis impersonator. Although he had acne and he was totally native, but he put his collar up and he did a hum thing, and girls would go crazy. And so I've always had a partner. And then my next partner was a black football player named Tommy Milton. He introduced me to soul music. And so then Tommy and I were partners for a long time. We put a band together called The Shades, and we were the biggest band in Western Alberta for a long time. And then I ended up with a partner with Bobby Taylor. And Bobby Taylor was a soul singer from New York, and we got a hit record, we got signed with Motown. And so then I got fired from Motown. That's a whole nother story.
Feel free to share.
No, I got fired because we were down in Motown illegally working, and then we got caught because some of the band came across and without the lie. You got to lie to get in, and they didn't lie, and they said that we were with Motown, and so they rounded us all up and shipped us to Windsor, Ontario, across the border.
Right over the bridge.
Yeah, the bridge, and so I had to get a green card. In the meantime, Bobby Taylor had split from the band, and I was working with a singer called Chris Clark. And I was at a gig, and I had to go back to the border to do an interview for the green card. And I told everybody, connected, the road manager, and they didn't know what a green card was. And so they told me, if you leave, you're fired. And I never listened to people anyway, well, especially that, And I didn't bother explaining it to them. So I left, and I got my green card, but I got fired.
Wow.
And then Barry Gordy said, he called me up. He said, "Oh, it's a mistake, Tom. You're not fired, And I said, I think I am. I'm going to stay fired. And I told Barry Gordy, I said, I want to be a Barry Gordy. I don't want to work for a Barry Gordy. And he said, I can respect that. So he gave me $5,000, and we were together at the time, and we left to California, and I was going to be a songwriter. I wanted to be a songwriter. And then instead of writing songs, I had to go back up to Vancouver to work on the clubs that we had, family-owned clubs, and that's when I met Cheech. And then after I met Cheech, we were in the comedy team, and then a comedy group, like an improv, and then the improv broke up, and then Cheech and I stayed together, and then the rest is history.
And how are you with people when they say, "Where's Cheech?"
Good. Oh, yeah. And, I joke. I'm a comedian, so where's Cheech? Oh, he got deported, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah. ICE came and just took his ass out of here.
That's so good. Topical humor. Man.
I have the best fun.
Man,
I have so much fun with Cheech. Yeah, on stage, we have fun. Oh, man. He hates it because there's a lot in the show. When we were together before, for the 20 years or so that we were together, we shared everything. Like we're on stage, shared everything, We did bets together, but when we broke up and I became a stand-up, I have to have my alone time on stage now. And we can't go back. You can never go back.
Right.
And so
But
now
people want you to go. Don't you find that people have this obsession with nostalgia and making you go back?
Yeah.
What do you think that is?
They're like anally.
Yeah.
In their mind, a lot of those people are, the salt and pepper that has to be together, the knife and fork has to be together, Cheech and Chong, we met a lot of people like that,
I think there's probably, too, a lack of growth on their end. And so you want me to be the old me because you're still the old you. What? I don't know if I heard that on Oprah, but...
Yeah, there's that. It's just the way people are, But you can't discount what you build, you see.
Right.
And that's when Cheech and I we weren't really... My son was the one that engineered our comeback. Because when we got back together, we fought like crazy at first. I went to meet him, and we had a meeting, and it was pretty brutal, because he had changed, he became himself.
He grew into himself. That's awesome.
He grew into exactly who he is, and I did the same thing. But when we were together, I was always the lead dog, I was the lead guy. I called the shots, and he didn't want to do that anymore. But I could never listen to Cheech because when we were somewhere, he would say, we never had a driver at the time, and we'd be driving, and I'd say, are we going left or right? He would go left, and it would be right. He always made the wrong choices. And so I had to, and I'm just as dyslexic as anybody else, and so we missed a lot of gigs because neither one of us had it together enough to show up a few times. But when we got back together again, he didn't want it to be like it used to be.
In what
like
way?
Everybody else wanted to be like it used to be. And so I was really happy working with my wife and being on the road by myself. I was building a nice nice routine, nice, crowd of clubs that I could work at. And so I said, well, after we had the meeting, it didn't end well. I went home and I texted him. I said, it was really nice seeing you again, And even though we're not working together, we should, shouldn't be strangers. Well, my son intercepted the email and he changed it. He says, I'd love to work with you again, man. Let's go back on the road. Let's do it again.
No way.
Yeah, my son,
Were
Paris.
you happy that he did that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Because I couldn't do it. My ego wouldn't allow me.
Right.
Cheech's ego wouldn't allow him. We both wanted it. We both wanted to get back together again because we weren't finished.
Wow.
And so we had a little rehearsal here right outside the door. And it wasn't really a rehearsal. We do a car bit. And so he said, well, let's rehearse that bit. And then we put the chairs together, and I looked at him, and I said, we don't need to rehearse. He said, nah.
I love it.
And we went back after all those years. We worked in La Jolla, little comedy club there. It was magic.
People must have lost their minds.
They did.
Of course.
Everybody did. It was incredible.
Can you equate, because for better or for worse, and I have a partner where we've had similar ups and downs, but there's something about us together that is undeniable. And I don't know if I can quite equate it anything more than when we get together, we fall into this rhythm where we both play our role and it just works. People like it.
Yeah.
Is that the same way for you and Cheech?
Totally.
Can you equate it to or articulate what it is, or it's just alchemy?
Well, a lot of it, it's very spiritual. It's mystical. Because, like I said, I had a lot of partners, but we all eventually broke up, mainly because they had different aims in life, Like Cheech wasn't my partner when we had the improv group. I had another partner named Dave. And Cheech was like an extra. He was a standby. He'd write and watch. But Dave was my partner. But Dave was too settled in Canada to ever leave. He's still there. He's still in Denman Island in BC. So when the group broke up, Cheech was the only one that showed up at rehearsal. And so I looked at Cheech. I said, I guess it's you and me, bud. And that's when Cheech started doing Dave's bits. But it was so easy for Cheech. And Cheech can do all these voices. He can do all these, he can sing, and he writes. He's incredible. But he never knew he could do this until he met me. And then because me, with my background, let's just do it. And so we did it. And we came down to LA and we didn't really we had a Canadian act, but we didn't have an LA act. But when we got here, we were playing in this one club, and it was a dance club, and everybody had to stop dancing, and that pissed everybody off.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so we had to do 2 shows, and so we did 1 show. Then everybody started dancing again, and the intermission, and so Cheech and I are in the dressing room thing, and I told Cheech, I said, well, come on, man, you're from here. There must be a character that these people can relate to. And he said, yeah, there's one. And I said, what is it? And he said, the lowrider. I said, okay. So I showed him a bit that I knew this black comic used to do, a bit about driving in a car. And so I showed him how to make a car appear on stage, just by cleaning it, pretending to clean it.
Sure. And
then opening the door and getting in. And so Cheech took it from there and became that lowrider. And then I was like hitchhiking. I was supposed to be hitchhiking. And I'm stoned on reds at the time, or downers. And so I'm a downer freak, and I get in his car, and and the crowd went nuts.
Blast
just
off.
Ate it up. And then we got fired.
Sounds like a good succession of events. Hi, it's the Curious Podcast with Josh Peck Advertisement Department. Hi, how are you? Hi, we're gonna implement a quick ad in the middle of the show, and then we'll just get right back to it. Okay, Cool. Thanks for listening. Anyway, did you know that Amazon Alexa comes with a wide variety of skills? They're just like apps, but you don't have to download or install them. Use the skills to play a game, relax with sleep sounds, listen to live sports, and so much more. You can browse them all by visiting the Amazon Alexa app. Just click on the Skills and Games tab or go to amazon.com/skills. You can find some of the best ones by asking Alexa, Alexa, what are your popular skills on any Alexa-enabled device? Here are a few skills you should try. Would you rather for family? I love playing games with my buddy David, and this skill asks you to make a choice between two situations. Just say, Alexa, play Would You Rather. Life hacks. New life hacks are added each week, and they're also super useful. Did you know Doritos can be used as fire kindling? I know. Say, Alexa, open life hacks and find out more interesting tricks. Try an Alexa skill today. Just say, Alexa, what are your popular skills? To find some of the best skills. Let's get back to the show. I'm always fascinated by this because I feel like that was something of like the 60s and 70s where pills didn't have names. It was just reds, blues, uppers, downers, screamers, laughers, criers.
Yeah,
Like,
spreaders.
nice. Okay. I'm not familiar with those.
Quaaludes.
But Quaaludes.
They're called spreaders.
Whatever happened to Quaaludes, right?
They got illegal.
I heard they were outstanding.
Oh, they were the best.
Yeah. What was it like, Xanax?
No, Quaaludes would make you feel real sexy.
Like ecstasy, kind of?
Yeah,
So I've heard.
Yeah, a little ecstasy. But no, Quaaludes had a thing of their own. You know the movie Wolf of Wall Street?
Yes.
He was a Quaalude addict.
And you know Jordan Belfort, right?
That's what he told me the story about it. You know, he had a yacht sinking in a multi-zillion-dollar yacht, and everybody's clothes and there's all sorts of things sinking in the Mediterranean, and the only thing he saved was his bottle of Quaaludes.
That's awesome.
And he had to go into the hole where everything was and risk his life, and they're trying to save him, and he said, "Just a minute, I'll be right there." And he's looking, got his bottle of Quaaludes, and they saved it. No, the Quaaludes are very powerful. Everybody loved them. Everybody loved them.
And then just the pharmaceutical company said, that's it. We're not making these anymore.
Yeah. Well, they became illegal, I think. Yeah. Yeah, they became illegal, and you couldn't get them anymore, and so people just moved on. And then cocaine took over, cocaine.
Such a worse drug. Did you...
I don't like the smell.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the best.
I'm not into coke.
That booger sugar,
Yeah,
the devil's dandruff,
Cheech and I
Colombian
tried coke.
calcium.
We were in New York doing the bitter end for the first time, and we partied with all these guys, and they had coke. In fact, we partied with a guy, one of the head of the cartel in Medellin, Colombia.
Pablo Escobar?
Well, his son,
what?
some relative. Yeah.
No.
He was the one that started the whole thing.
Last name Escobar?
I'm not sure. I'm not going to say it just in case.
Yeah, it's better not.
It was some guy.
Allegedly, yes.
Allegedly.
Okay.
He said he was in school in Columbia University. And when he'd go home to Columbia, he brought back a little coke for his friends. And next thing you know, he was going back to Columbia. They said, give him money. He said, we want some more of that. And pretty soon he quit school, and he was just ferrying cocaine in suitcases on the plane. And they never searched it. There was no TSA, nothing. And so he'd bring all these suitcases on the plane full of cocaine and get it off the luggage and take it in. And yeah, so Cheech and I were doing coke at a party, and then we had to work the next day at the bitter end, or the next night. We did the worst show.
I bet.
We were arguing before we walked off stage. We're arguing. It was a cocaine. And we never did coke since. We quit. That was the tipping point, because if it interferes with your comedy. See, Robin Williams and all those other guys,
Belushi.
Sam Kinison, that it helped their comedy.
Do you think it helped them, or they were great despite the
No, it helped.
It did,
Oh,
because
yeah.
of the manic
in the
nature.
beginning. It's like any drug. In the beginning.
Gives you wings.
Yeah, in the beginning, but then you lose your mind, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning, all drugs. That's why, like heroin and all that. If you could get it like Keith Richards did, then you're okay.
But he's a specimen. he shouldn't be on this earth.
There's another guy. I was telling someone else, my son or daughter, one of them, about what's his name, the great brain surgeon that the hospital is named after.
Sloan Kettering? Cedars-Sinai?
It'll come to me. I
St.
always
John?
get a block with that name.
John Hopkins.
John Hopkins.
Yeah.
John Hopkins was experimenting with cocaine for his operations, and he got hooked on it. And the only way he could get off cocaine, I mean, he's a doctor now. It was an experiment. And so when he got hooked, it was like, oh, this is terrible. The only way he could get off cocaine was to get on heroin. And he died. He was a heroin junkie from that point on. And he did all his operations while he was under the influence of pharmaceutical heroin. And so if it's done properly, it's okay. But if it's not, it still shortened his life, you know.
Oh, for sure.
It's not good. It's not good.
Is there one drug that you've seen in your experience from, other performers or fellows of yours that it seems to just take people down, like an insidious...
Alcohol.
Alcohol.
The worst.
Because it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere.
The worst. It wrecks your body. That's the worst thing about it. Pot, on the other hand, affects the brain. And if you can handle it, pot's the best. It always has been. And it's a medicine, too. Pot does, it calms the brain. And then when you calm the brain, because people are always in a state of either flight or fight, either running or, and they're always, if they're anxious, that means they're worried about the future. And if they're depressed, that means they're thinking about the past. And pot puts you in the middle. Pot puts you in the now. And so you're neither here nor there. You're sitting there trying to figure out where your car keys are, or how do I get out of this chair if you've done too much pot.
Sure.
But what it does to the body, it calms it down to the point where the immune system, all the systems in the body can kick in. And see, because the brain affects. That's why people, when their doctors will heal someone and they'll say, well, it's up to God now, Basically what they're saying is that you got to let the body do the work. And that's why when animals get sick, like a dog gets sick, it doesn't go to the vet by itself or take any medicine. It crawls somewhere and hibernates and starves itself,
To repair.
Yeah, to repair. And like a bear hibernating, what happens, all the systems slow down, and so your brain can tell the immune system to do its job. And that's how pot works, and CBD oil especially, because CBD oil won't give you the high that THC does, but CBD oil will give you it'll repair everything that's wrong with you, and it starts with the brain.
And to that respect, is the poison in the dose in that where is that fine line where the trip has stopped being about being in the now and has become an escape?
Everybody's different. Everybody's different. You can't. There's no two. We are all individuals to the point that even identical twins are totally individuals. And so by
twins are weird anyway, right? Twins, they're weird. Identicals. Sorry to interrupt.
Triplets too.
Yeah.
But we are all individuals, and what will work on one will not work on the other. Was it just like relationships, You see two people together, how could she love that guy? Well, there's some kind of chemistry there. And that's the same thing as with us in pot. Some people like me once I found pot, that's all I needed. And I don't need to do it, by the way. It's not like cigarettes or something you need to do. In fact, I had a cold a couple of days ago, and I was coughing too much and smoking too much weed because I have an app and I smoke on the app. And so I had to quit, and I've quit for a couple of days now, and it's happening. It helps. So I think the strongest argument for pot is that you don't have to do it.
Sure.
That's the best argument.
And I think you're right. I mean, I had an interesting relationship with marijuana, and I don't do anything anymore because I'm that type.
Yeah.
And where it serves me to just kind of
Yeah.
be sober. But, marijuana, and I think it's because I did it in excess, and anything in excess, is that it was this beautiful thing for me. And then, but inevitably, it had sort of diminishing returns that it kind of turned on me. And I've seen that with friends similarly who've, had a real love affair with it, that eventually it kind of like it stops hitting that note that it once hit.
It's like exercise.
You plateau.
If you do too much exercise, you will hurt yourself.
So marijuana is like the elliptical machine.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay.
Exactly. And then you only do it if you need to. That's what I tell people. When should I do pot? When you need to. And if you don't need to, then don't do it.
And what's your preferred delivery method?
I'm old school. I like smoking out of a pipe. I got a tons of pipe. That's one of my hobbies.
Industries.
Making bongs. I went to jail for bongs, and when I was in jail, I made bongs.
Really?
Yeah, and I
It's
still
no more-
make bongs.
it's
I
no
make
longer
bongs. I make
license
bongs
plates.
out of kombucha bottles. In fact, there's one bong. There's a crystal there. You see it?
No way.
This one here, right there. Yeah. I make these.
That is high end.
Yeah.
This
and
is beautiful.
all I make, this is a little thing for the end of a cane. And this is plastic, of course. And then what you do, then the bowl goes on top of here. And it's, and I do this with kombucha bottles. And so I'm obsessed with it.
That could be like at Sotheby's.
Yeah. Well, I once, we did a bit where I was going to have a $1 million bong. And I realized this is how I do it. I get a piece of Tiffany glass or some expensive glass and put this on top. I got $1 million bong.
What do you think of those like volcanoes where
I tried them.
the garbage bag full of vape?
I tried them. They're okay.
Yeah.
Too much work for me.
Yeah.
It's
You're a
way
purist.
too much work. I don't like to work. I'm old, and if you got to do a lot of stuff, dab and all that stuff, I've been there, done that.
Yeah. You
I like
found-
old school, and I like the sound of a bong. I like the way it bubbles. It's got a nice, healthy sound to it.
a timbre. A
Yeah, and then you
treble,
can clean
perhaps.
this. See, this is cleanable. You can scrub this out because some of those bongs, they get so grungy that you don't even want it near your mouth, let alone suck on it.
Oh yeah, it gets me in 2004 in my friend's apartment in North Hollywood. You don't want to know where that bong had been.
And then you spill bong water. It's
Oh
like,
Jesus!
God.
No, it's like
We're going to have to move now.
yeah, exactly. I'm glad I never have to go to that apartment again. Shout out Len. So, is there something, because every culture sort of has this in the respect of like, is there something about, I don't want to say marijuana culture, but of the corporatization or is there parts of it that annoy you? Like if you see it on a T-shirt or where people become annoying about the culture?
Absolutely not.
No, you love it all?
Not at all. No, one thing I learned in prison is that you really gotta, you wake up every day, and the fact that you can wake up and see the sun and enjoy the air and eat the food, that's all that really matters. And you got people that love you and you love them. I am trying my best to be as non-judgmental as I can about everything. And when people say to me, well, the pot today is a lot stronger than it was back then, I said, probably. I agree with them. Agree quickly with your adversary. But thinking when I was back then, that pot knocked me on my ass like it does today. So there's the plant hasn't changed just because people found it. They realized, oh wow, or because they've grown it in a separate different way, or grown it indoor or outdoor. There's all that stuff, scientific stuff. If you use a certain fertilizer, it's going to give you. Nah, pot is a weed. That's why they call it a weed. It'll grow anywhere for anybody, at any time, anywhere. It's a weed. It's like a dandelion. By the way, dandelions are good to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I ate them in prison.
Really?
Yeah, because they're growing all over the place, and I'd go pick up fresh dandelions, make a salad, and they had rosemary, and I'd pick the rosemary and make tea. And if you know what to look for, man, you don't have to go anywhere. It's right here.
I can imagine that dandelions were preferable to chow, to prison chow.
I only ate in the chow room, I think, one time, and it was because I wanted that experience.
What was the meal?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you.
Slop.
It was so bad. Yeah,
it was like
pretty
Oliver.
bad. Well, it wasn't that bad, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's like Skid Row, just they got a thing with bologna, in
They
prison.
love it in prison.
And
It's very trendy. And
horrible. You know what people used to do when I was there? They would take their food and take it to the edge of the field, and there was these wild gophers, ground squirrels, and we'd feed the ground squirrels. And we'd tame them. We actually tamed the ground squirrels, feed them every day, and they'd be waiting for you. Come out there. And this one ground squirrel, he got so fat, he couldn't get back in his hole. And then we found him a couple of days later up in the light stand at the top, about 50 feet up high, because the hawks would be sitting up there watching these ground squirrels get all fattened up for him.
oh, yeah.
And they would come down, and the ground squirrels would be always eating, but they'd be always looking up in the air to, they'd eat their food. But the ground squirrels got addicted to all that bad food. I never ate it at all. I hooked up with like a Goodfellas crowd where we cooked our own meals, or we had a cook.
Was it like the scene in Goodfellas?
Yeah.
You're like chopping garlic and
Exactly.
whatnot? 3-course meals?
We would spend no wine, but we would spend, Eric Larson, he's a golf caddy for pros. He's on the tour now. He was doing about 11 years for selling cocaine, even though it was a bogus rap. But he was a cook, and he ran the garden too. We had a beautiful garden, all the vegetables, and I ate healthier in prison than I ever have in my life. He would make these burritos because we weren't totally vegan. We'd have chicken, and so he'd make these burritos. The first time he had him give me a burrito, I took a little bit and I passed it on to the next guy. I thought it was a communal thing, and he said, "No, that's yours." And I said, "I can't eat all this." But guess who ate all that?
Crushed it.
Oh, it was so good.
Hey, let's try another ad, shall we? Did you know that every episode of Curious is now on Spotify? Yeah, cancel Christmas. You're welcome. The same app that has millions of songs now also has thousands of podcasts. On Spotify, you can listen to all your favorite shows. You know what's your number one favorite, and discover new ones. And you can subscribe to our show. Just search for Curious, tap follow, and get every new episode delivered to you. Podcasts on Spotify. They're streaming right now, and now, and now. All right, let's get back to the show. I have a lot of questions about the joint, but the last thing I want to say about marijuana is, do you ever brush up against the names of certain things? Because I think at this point, people have lost their mind, where it's like, this strain's called dyslexia, or like, this strain's called Margaret Thatcher. Like,
that's a human trying to get a handle, get a control.
Yeah,
That's what they're trying to do.
Marketing.
The government right now and the big companies, they're trying to get a point where they can control it, where they can say, "Oh, I've got blueberry, and you can't get this anywhere but here." No, it's a weed. It grows anywhere for anybody.
It's here to stay.
And I don't care what you call it. They asked me, "What's your favorite strain?" I said, "Marijuana is probably my favorite strain."
I like that answer.
Yeah. Or they say, "Do you like sativa or indica?" I said, "Depends on what I'm smoking. If it's a sativa, I love sativa. If it's indica, I love indica. You know.
Recently, my buddy Len and I, and we both don't smoke anymore, but in our day did a lot of research. And we went to one of these fancy, marijuana stores in near the beach. And someone comes up and is showing him a strain, and he's like, "This is lemon cookie zest," and and it's got top notes of passion fruit. And my buddy looks at it and goes, "Back in my day, we used to call this stress. like this is trash." They were like, "No, it's lemon cookie bread."
Hey, we used to sell little pinners made out of marijuana dust, basically, and they were so small they would look like toothpicks, and they were sold for $1 a piece.
Yeah,
but it helped the band get through the set. We would share one of those little joints, and it would be enough. Because what happens with marijuana, it's like I say, it affects the brain. So even the word marijuana, even the sound of my voice has enough THC in it to trigger the brain that people, that's why they loved our record so much, because people could get stoned without getting stoned, just listening to us.
Yeah.
It's a suggestion thing. It's like hypnotic. It's like what Trump's doing to the world now. He's hypnotizing everybody. He hypnotizes, and that's what marijuana does too. It's just like it affects the brain. Therefore, if you even mention or talk about it, like you I know that you will get a buzz just talking about it.
Yeah, I'm feeling it now. And I want to tell you guys, it's incredible. I don't exactly know where I am, but I'm rolling with it. Speaking of Trump and sort of what happened with you going to prison in 2004, it was so based off of a ridiculous regime that was in office, and it had so much to do with politics. Are you like pulling your hair out, seeing this sort of happening again?
Oh no, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm one of those. I predicted Trump.
Did you?
In my own weird way, I'd piss a lot of people off because I said it wouldn't be bad if he won. And they would say, why? I said, well, because he's a builder. I says, and if he did win, the only thing he knows how to do is build. So I envisioned infrastructure happening all over because as a builder, he would get all the contracts, and he would be rich beyond anybody's imagination. But however, because of who he is, Trump, here's the way I describe Trump now. Trump is like a wild animal loose in your house. And if you mess with him, he'll crap all over, he'll do all sorts of weird things. So what you got to do, you got to open the door, show him a way out, and you got to put some food out there. And you got to entice him to go out, and you got to calm him down. You don't want to get him upset, because that's what they're doing now. See, here's what happened with Trump. It's on your podcast. A lot of people don't agree with me, but here's what happened with Trump. He is a con man. He just wants money, and he doesn't really want the money, but he's a rich con man. He's like a trust fund baby. Now, trust fund babies, the one thing that they have in common is that because they don't work for anything, they don't appreciate anything. They don't build anything, so they don't have any feeling for anything, including relationships or anything else. Anything they want, they buy. And when you get a trust fund baby, a toy at Christmas, for instance, the first thing they do is try to destroy it. That's why they make toys, expensive toys. They make them almost indestructible, but all they want to do is destroy so they can get another toy, you see. And that's what Trump is like. He's like a trust fund baby. Now, he did not want to win the presidency. He just wanted to run for the presidency. He's like a hack comic that had a built-in crowd. And so he wanted to get up there, and then he trolled. And so what he did, because he was broke, he went to Russia. Russia says, okay, Donald, we'll give you the money you want, but you're going to run for president. And Donnie says, hey, no problem. You got it. Putin, I'm in.
Yeah.
And so he tried to lose. And just like the movie, where the producers, the more he tried to lose, the more people identified with him, and the more they liked him. And the harder he tried to lose, the more disgusting he got, the more popular he got. Because ever watch American Idol where the bad singer was on and everybody kept voting for him because it just tore everybody up?
Sanjaya?
Yeah, and he's on again. Oh, but it had everybody. It's a trolling method. So Trump thought he was going to lose. He had a losing party arranged for that night. But instead he won, thanks to the Russians. And once he got in, and then, here's my other theory. The FBI has been investigating Trump since Trump went off on the birther ramp. So, because Obama's a president, you're attacking the president. FBI, CIA, everybody went after Trump. And when they went after Trump, they found Trump. They found all the mess about Trump. They've been known about Trump since Obama's been in power. Now, it looks like Hillary's going to win. Now, if Hillary wins, the FBI doesn't have a case anymore. And they're hunting this guy. The FBI wants this guy. And so they got to make it so that Hillary doesn't win. Because they know what Trump's thinking. He wants to lose, and he's going to walk away with all the money. He's going to walk away free. So Comey sabotages the election at the last minute. Hillary loses. Trump's in power. Now Trump he's devastated.
Heavy.
Melania, they're all mad. They're crying. You said you weren't going to win, and you won. Now they're under White House arrest.
Totally. And it's a total step down from Mar-a-Lago, the White House. I mean, have you seen his hotels? They're much nicer, I'm sure.
He hates that job.
He must hate it.
He hates. And so he's doing everything in there. He's that wild animal in the house. He's getting the worst people. He wants to tear up the Clean Air Act. He wants to destroy the housing. He doesn't care. He wants to support the Nazis. He wants to do everything he wants to do. But America's Constitution is so strong, and the judges and that, they're so strong that they're just stopping them at every turn. And now, and Kelly, by the way, was sent there. There is a shadow government. It's called the military, because they're the ones that are in charge of the atomic, the nuclear weapons. And so the military says, Kelly, get in there, keep an eye on Trump. Kelly's in there. Because Kelly even said that I wasn't sent here to change the man. Who sent you? He was supposedly hired by Trump. No, he was hired by the Republicans. And so Kelly's got a lock on him. Everybody's got a lock on him. And now, as Mueller gets closer and closer, they've got all the evidence they need to impeach him. But they're not going to impeach him because he's still doing what they want him to do. They cut taxes, they got military budget, they got everything the Republicans want, they're getting it.
But do you think that, my friend has this theory, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it as far as Trump goes, because, whether or not Russia did interfere in the election, and it's proving that they probably did, in my experience, I've come into contact with a lot of Trump voters and a lot of people that were behind them. And even more upsetting were people who were like me, like left-leaning liberals from coastal cities who said, I don't agree with him, but I can't vote for her, which was I was like, you're crushing me. But my buddy said, we got the president that we deserved. He's a fucking representation of we as a people. And this is, yeah.
Well, you can look at it that way, but you don't want to take these things personal. Ever. That's why you lose sight. As far as Hillary goes, Hillary was trying to have the crown passed to her. That doesn't work that way. And so Obama was really, and everybody, the Republicans, everybody else, he said, well, she deserves it. She's a woman. She's got a lot of great ideas. She's going to do great for the country, everything else. And they're right. They're absolutely right. But she's got all that Bill Clinton baggage.
Sure.
You see, and so we would have been better off with Elizabeth Warren, if you want to get real, and not Bernie.
No, not
Not
Bernie.
Bernie, not Bernie, because Bernie's too old, too set in his ways, and he's too
Pedantic.
old. Yeah, he's too weird. But you need youth in there. You need youth.
I got to say, if Bernie Sanders can't get a Tommy Chong endorsement, he was never going to make it.
I was trying. I know I endorsed Bernie in the beginning.
Oh, yeah?
And then there were some people that wanted me to introduce him at a rally, and then Bernie's people nixed it. They said no, they don't want to be so associated with Tommy Chong.
Oh, give me a break.
I'm telling you.
That's backwards thinking.
I know.
But, there is a part of me that feels as though the people were dissatisfied with the status quo of how they imagined that politics worked, be it left or right. And so there was my same buddy always calls it like anarchy light, where they were like, we need an outlier, someone to fix this screwed up system that it seems that anyone that's groomed from the beginning in it is incapable of doing. Unfortunately, they picked the wrong fucking outlier in this guy, Donald Trump. Like, they just saw him.
I disagree with you.
Yeah?
Totally. Donald Trump is he's a product. We're in a physical world, okay? For every action, there's a reaction. For every Barack Obama, there's a Donald Trump. And it has to be that way because we're in the physical world. It's
Balance.
A teeter-totter. Just because you're on top until the other guy pushes you up because there's nowhere to go except down. And so that's where the country was at. Now look at the good things that came out accidentally with Trump. North Korea, Iran. These are good things. See, other than that, they were treating Iran like they were a true nuclear power, and North Korea is like, oh, this is a true, like they're like China, they're the boogeyman. And Trump comes along and says, these are punks. Hey, scrap that deal. You mess with me, I got all these nukes. I'll eliminate you, and immediately. And so North Korea said, "Ooh, that guy's crazy." And so, okay, we better talk to him. Iran, same thing, the people, no, Iran was on our side until, the mullahs took over and it started the revolution and that. Most people, especially in Korea and that, Korea's getting together. North and South, they're getting together now because of Trump. Trump saw the guy was a punk. He says, this guy's a punk. I know because I'm a punk. They know each other. And same as Iran, they know each other. They're on the same. But Barack Obama, because when you get to high level, you're dealing with intellectuals talking to intellectuals, you see. And so when you got down into the ground, into the dirt, now you got Trump talking to Kim Jong-un. Perfect. Like Putin and Trump. Perfect. They're talking. We don't want to hear what they're saying. Because what they're saying, Putin's saying, look, Donnie, I give you all that money. If you don't do what I say, you see that guy that got poisoned? You notice that I poisoned his daughter? That's the message there, Donnie. You mess with me, you're going out and your daughter's going out. And so Donnie is like, okay, Putin, what do you want me to do? But they can't trust each other. And the American system is so strong, it's so beautiful. Checks and balances. All we have to do now is get control of the House, which we're doing.
Think so.
Oh, we're going to do it.
But he has installed some pretty conservative Supreme Court justices, or at least one and maybe a second.
We've gone through it. Look at me. I went to jail for a bong.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, is that the most? How do you reconcile that?
This is George Bush.
In this house?
George Bush was attacking Iraq for lies, built, the weapons of mass destruction. And so they went after me for a distraction called Operation Pipe Dreams. And so they put me in jail and they put all the bond companies out of work. And they attacked Iraq, and look what's going on with that. Look how that turned out. So Bush was way off course. All those guys were way off course, but they have intellectuals talking to intellectuals, and so they give you this gobbledygook that, well, there could have been weapons of mass destruction, blah, 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 all that crap. That's why I love what Trump is lying, and he tells you he's lying, and at least he's out there. But in everything that he's trying to break, he can't break. The rich kid can't break those toys. He's not going to turn back the windmills. He's not going to stop wind or solar or electric cars. He can't stop it. He can't, like stopping the computer. He can't stop all that stuff. It's all rhetoric. And by the time when we get out, because the FBI, remember this, the FBI and the CIA have got some of the most intelligent people working. They know what's going on. They're way ahead of the game. And so all we have to do is relax and make sure we vote. And then that's the other thing Trump did. He woke everybody up. Now you've got people in the streets. They care about stuff, Before that, if the Nazis marched, no one would have showed up. Who cares? Some idiot, But now Nazis show up, boom, there. And by the way, the thing, kids at the border, that's another thing. You know what my take on that is? Kids at the border are getting an education that's going to propel so many of them into America mainstream in educational things, because that's strength. They're learning English. They're not only learning English, but they're learning English in jail. They're learning the real English. They're learning the real America. The parents, they're illiterate. They show up at the border with their kids thinking they're going to be treated fairly.
Well, wait, you're saying what they're learning in the refugee camps?
Yeah.
So you're saying it's good?
Absolutely.
Oh, Tommy, a lot of people would disagree with that.
Well, I know, because when you're looking at it. Now, I'll tell you, I'm talking from experience. I was put in a home. First of all, I was in a hospital when I was 4 years old. I don't even remember being home with my mother. My first conscious memories was being in a hospital. So I have no feeling. I had no feeling for my mother or my father. All I had feeling for was the people that were waiting, that were tending to me. And they changed all the time. But I was me. And then from the hospital, I went into a home, like an orphanage.
Sure.
And again, my dad, who I barely knew, I never saw my dad till I was about 3, 4, something like that. He was in the army, and then he got out of the army, and then I was born, and obviously, but my dad took me from the hospital and took me to the home with a stack of comic books and some clothes, and he handed the lady the clothes and the comic books, and then they put me out on the little garden area with the crayons, and then my dad said goodbye to me, and I hadn't seen. Then I never saw him again for about almost 6, 7 months, something like that. And they took I never saw the comic books again, but I was never attached to anything. See,
Sure.
I went from one day to the next. See, that's what kids do. They go from one day to the next, one meal to the next, and there's no pattern for them.
But would you say that, because we could debate the politics ad nauseum, but there are probably studies that would say that institutionalization of a kid at a young age is, for the majority, not as good as being in a traditional family home, right? I mean,
That's the physical universe. There's no Ozzie and Harriet life here, man. That's an anomaly. You see that on TV. How many kids have got a drunk dad or no dad? You got a teenage mom that's being raised by their grandma. How many kids are homeless? Right here in America, homeless, living on the streets, living in the cars. Millions of them, tons of them. We're in a physical universe, man. We're here to learn, and that's what those kids are doing. They're learning. Their life doesn't stop. See, this is what the liberals do. This is the problem with liberals. They feel how they would be affected, you see. But they're not them. Think of what they're running away from. They're running away from violence and death and destruction, and they get to the border, and all of a sudden they're split up. Oh, okay. It's better than being killed. Better than being murdered in Guatemala or wherever the hell they are.
But do you think it's that black and white, or because it seems there's some more nuance to that? Yes, in the worst cases, it's what would happen where they're from, but that there's more nuance to it. That it doesn't have to either be institutionalized or die.
People, poor people especially, we got them. We'll always have poor people. I always remember that. Jesus said it. He said, we'll always have poor people.
He was the best poor dude.
And the reason we always have poor people is because we're here to learn. You can only learn in a physical universe. You cannot learn anything in a spiritual universe. In a spiritual universe, which we all are from, there's no up or down, there's no love or hate, there's no want or hunger, there's nothing. There just is. The only time you have, it's in a physical universe. Now you have to eat. Now you have to drink. Now you have to breathe. Now you have to do these things. You have to learn all these things. And it doesn't matter where you learn them. It doesn't matter who feeds you. Like when I was in the hospital, it wasn't my mother that was bringing me the food. It was a nurse. And when I was in the home, it wasn't my mother and father, putting the food on the table and say, supper. No, it was, hey, you better get up there or while there's still some food. I never had, when I was in the home, I was so young, I never had cereal.
But do you think you are an exception or a rule? Because in the sense of like you had this challenging upbringing and I had one that was not idyllic. And here we are sitting together, thriving, living.
We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our upbringing.
But are you totally? But of other people like that had a similar upbringing, or if you had any peers or fellows within that system, do you think that they made something like their life resulted in something that is that would echo yours, or that they've actually sort of had one sort of misstep after the next?
I had dinner with a self-made billionaire. He's a billionaire now. And his life was so interesting, man. The King family, the King family? They owned Oprah, Wheel of Fortune, all those shows.
Yeah.
Zillionaires. He's a big mansion and thing. He started out in Boston running with the Irish mob. His first break, he got caught stealing cigarettes from they hijacked a truck. It was a gang. And the other two guys, they got 3 years in jail. And Richie got sent to, he had a choice. The judge says, you can go to jail or go to the Army. So he went to the Army. And he joined up and he went to Vietnam. He went to Hue. And he spent his entire thing in Hue. He got shot in the mouth. And the bullet went through, took out a molar and went through his cheek.
Not a molar. It's my favorite of all the teeth. New advertisement for you. Strap up and let's get excited for an ad. Guys, are you familiar with Stitch Fix? Well, you should be. You want to know why? Because Stitch Fix is an online personal styling service that finds and delivers clothes, shoes, and accessories to fit your body, budget, and lifestyle. And listen, I've got a very specific body, okay? You don't want to know about my curves, but it's, these curves can be dangerous, all right? In low light situations, if it's foggy, you could drive right off the road, okay, of my body. Anyway, when I went to Stitch Fix, it was so easy. All I had to do was sign up. I filled out this questionnaire, and I really felt like they were trying to figure out the best clothes for my body. And yeah, it couldn't have been easier. It wasn't one of those signups where like they ask what your blood type is and your mother's maiden name and your great grandmother's favorite hobby. Like it was super easy. It was like a couple steps, boom, done, signed up. And now I can't wait for my box of stuff. Just go to stitchfix.com/curious. Tell them your sizes, what styles you like, and how much you want to spend on each of them. You'll be paired with your very own personal stylist who will handpick 5 items to send right to your door. Then you try them on, you pay only for what you love, and return the rest. Shipping, exchanges, and returns are always free. Get started now at stitchfix.com/curious, and you'll get an extra 25% off when you keep all 5 items in your box. That's stitchfix.com/curious to get started today. stitchfix.com/curious. For people that aren't as sort of informed about what happened in 2004. Will you give us sort of like a play-by-play of the day of when you were arrested?
I was busted in '03.
Or sorry, '03.
They came to the door here, and the SWAT team.
A SWAT team for Tommy Chong.
They had helmets and automatic weapons. Banged on the door. The door was open. And I came down, I could see through the glass, and I see them there, and they look like trick-or-treaters, you know?
I just love the image that Tommy Chong is the only man in history who said to the SWAT team, "It's open." That's genius.
I did. I looked at them, and I said, wow, that's they come in, and they handed me a warrant. We're here to search your house. And, okay. So they're running around, they're searching. And it was really funny. I was like, I am a comedian. So he says, do you have any marijuana here? I said, yeah, of course I have. And he said, where is it? I said, every room in the house.
Yeah.
He said, can you be more specific? I said, well, there's a bud on my workbench downstairs. And so he tells the guy, oh, go get it. The guy runs down there, and then he runs back up. I can't find it, sir. And he says, well, where's your dogs? And no, we didn't bring the dogs. I said, what kind of narcs are you?
Yeah.
You come
You're like,
into a guy's house without dogs?
Do we have any marijuana? Yes, we also have walls, doorknobs, and some flooring.
I was cracking up because it was ridiculous. They're running around and they're taking all the computers in the house. They took all the computers, and then I'm in my jockey shorts. And then the guy kept talking to me, and he kept looking at me, and he says, tells his buddies, take Mr. Chong upstairs and get him some clothes. And I said, oh, okay. So I went up, and I'm getting dressed, and there was a little safe, looked like a gun safe. The guy just looked at it, he goes, what's in here? I says, stuff, money, open it up. So I opened it up. They're looking for weapons. That's what they were searching for. They're looking for weapons. Had I had a gun, I would have been gone for 5 years. But I don't believe in guns, so I never had a weapon. And so they took all my cash. It was all T-shirt money. They took it. It was like I was being robbed, basically. And so they took the money. Then they took me downstairs. I'm dressed now. Then they started telling me, okay, we're in Operation Pipe Dreams. And that's when I blew it. I really got pissed off because it was my son's company. I said, this is about bongs? I said, you're doing all this over bongs? And then they thought there was going to be some kind of fight, so they cleared off the dining room table or the coffee table. They moved everything else in case there was going to be a brawl. I said, really, bongs? And he said, you better phone a lawyer. And now I'm surrounded by lawyers, but I couldn't think of one lawyer.
You're like, this is a palisade, sir. Throw
a
a rock.
You throw a rock out here, and you'll hit a lawyer. And I could not think of a lawyer except my ex-manager, who was a divorce lawyer. So I called him, and they told him what was going on. And then Shelby, in the meantime, what's going on? We're being busted, blah, blah, blah. She goes up and gets ready, gets dressed. And she's just so cool. She's putting her makeup on, She comes downstairs. She says, okay, honey, let's go get some coffee. And the cop says, hey, wait, we're not finished here. And Shelby goes, are we under arrest? They said, no. Well, then we're going to go get some coffee. And said, well, hold on, just a minute. Why don't you go in the kitchen and make some? Now, she didn't say it, but I always embellished it a little bit. I said, she thought it anyway. She said, F you, I want my Starbucks.
Yeah.
And then there was one girl there because they had to have a lady present, and she was with the post office. It was a post office bust, by the way, shipping across the state line. That made it federal. And so they told the lady, why don't you go with her in the kitchen and make some coffee? And Shelby said, I'm not going to make coffee.
She's like, I work for the post office. Like, haven't I been humiliated enough?
And so then the guy says, "Okay, that's a wrap. We're wrapping up here." And so they left. And we did. We went out and had our coffee.
And were you in a state of, were you dazed? You weren't in shock at all?
I'm a comedian. It was like,
Ridiculous.
It was exciting. It was fun. It was exciting. It was like, oh, great. This is great.
But at that moment, could you have ever foreseen that you would have to go sit for 9 months?
No, I thought for sure. I mean, that's why we're selling bongs. I mean, how can that be illegal?
Yeah.
You know, it's a bong. It's a water pipe. It's been around forever.
I mean, there are stores
Yeah.
everywhere.
At the time, yeah. At the time, we were doing tours. In fact, we got a tape. We did a documentary called AKA Tommy Chong, and we got the government surveillance tape where they surveilled me in I think it was Texas, somewhere in Texas, and the store owner knew they were narcs, so he had all those employees wear DEA T-shirts and stand next to the guys. And I still never got it. It did not dawn on me. And then the cops who were wearing headbands and backpacks, they said to me, "Can we talk to you outside, sir?" I still didn't know they were narcs.
Thought they were
so
fans.
I went outside. I'm sitting there talking to them. Now these pipes aren't really for tobacco use only, are they? I said, "Oh, hell no. Yeah, these are the best pot pipes you'll ever buy." And then, "Can you say that again, sir?" It was.
You're like, "Is this thing on?" They're like, "In fact, it is."
It was crazy, but no. And then I had to get a lawyer. You know, we get a defense lawyer, and then they said, my defense lawyer. You know, the first thing they said is, you know, I need $100,000. You know, down payment. Retainer. Yeah.
Bastards.
And right then I started getting a little, that's kind of stiff. But we give them the money, and then they wanted me to do an anti-drug commercial, which I did, and it's so funny because it's an anti-drug commercial done by Tommy Chong, and it sounds like a Cheech and Chong bit.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't use that. And then I went to court, and then I started getting this feeling that, you know, it's getting a little serious. So I tried to write a note and saying that yeah, I did wrong. I feel bad for my actions and blah blah blah. And I showed it to my lawyer, and my lawyer said, no, that's not going to work. And so next thing I know, they sentenced me to 9 months.
And were you floored?
Kinda.
Or did you have a suspicion that perhaps you weren't going home?
I had a choice. They told me that they knew that they didn't have a case against me. They only had a case against my son and my daughter. I mean, son and my wife, because my wife signed a check, and my son, it was his company. And so they told me if I didn't plead guilty, that they would go after them. And that's the government. This is the United States government. And so I said, "You got me.
Yeah.
I'll plead guilty."
Fall on the sword.
And then when I was in court, they're reading the charge, and they said that Tommy Chong owned the company. And I said, "Hold on, I don't own the company. The company is owned by my son." They said, "Sir, you said that, you know, this is what you said." I said, "Okay, I did it. Yeah, it's my company." And then the only thing I had them change, they said drug paraphernalia, and I said, "Call them marijuana pipes."
Yeah,
And
let's
so they said,
not dance
okay.
around.
So they called it marijuana pipes, and then the judge said 9 months, and the girl, the prosecutor, I forget her name now. She was pretty happy, you know. She got a conviction, but they had all said that I'd probably get house arrest, and I was happy as hell to get that, you know. Stay home for 9 months, no problem. You know.
Beautiful.
But I got it, and then a month later, we took a Vanity Fair wanted to do a story on me, so they paid for a limo to take me to jail. So I went to jail in a limo.
And what was that 25th hour like? The half an hour, the hour approaching. Were you nervous? Were you just sort of resigned to that?
No, I was.
You knew you'd be
all
all
right.
right.
Excited. I had a premonition all my life. My family. You know, I'm from a very liberal kind of crazy family. And I used to meet guys like this one guy that gave me this tattoo. This is a white supremacy tattoo, by the way. And I didn't know it at the time. He said he only knew a couple of tattoos, and this is one of them. He was a biker, he was in an outlaw gang, and he had been in prison. And so he would tell me all about. He could sing, and I'd play guitar, and he'd sing, and then he'd tell me about prison. And then I had more friends that had got out of. Our house was like a halfway house, and so there was always something connected with prison all my life, from the time I was about 15 years old. And so there was something. And then just before I went to jail, before the bust, I started watching Shawshank Redemption. Every time it was on, I'd watch it. It was like there was something very cosmic going on.
Great movie.
And so I was really destined to go to jail. And so when I went to jail, when I got in there, I was treated like a king, It was incredible. They put handcuffs on me just to walk through the gate to make it official. And after that, I was like free as a breeze,
And, I don't want to keep you all day. So I guess like my last question would be, was in finishing that experience and putting it behind you, what was some new self-knowledge that was gained out of that experience or?
Well, I turned it into a religious retreat, basically, because I'd always been studying mythology, mystic. There's a writer that I've been connected with. He's not around anymore. Joel S. Goldsmith. If you get a chance, check out his books. Infinite Way, tons of books. And so I was into that mindset already. And I was also dealing with the I Ching, the Chinese Book of Changes. And so in astrology, and then I'd been with jazz musicians that turned me on to The Third Eye, which was another Tibetan book about afterlife and why we're here, reincarnation. And so I was really into that. And then when I got into prison, I got invited into the Sweat Lodge, the Lakota Native Sweat Lodge Society. And so we did the Sweat Lodge every Saturday.
In prison?
In prison, yeah.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like a spa.
Yeah. Well, it's a little heavier than that. It's a sweat lodge.
Right.
But every federal prison has to have a sweat lodge. It's mandated.
Really?
By law. And so I would spend actually most of my time at the sweat lodge because it was on the grounds. It was surrounded. It was sacred ground. Animals, snakes and lizards and birds and rabbits would come into the grounds knowing that it was sacred. Birds would be that we could touch them. Snakes would crawl up alongside. It was really like a Garden of Eden. It was so holy. And then when we in the lodge itself, we played drums and chant ancient Lakota chants and one time the prison wanted to show off that there's still a prison, Okay, everybody in there, get out, come on out. Yeah, we all had to get out there, stand there, and they can't search us because we were just in our shorts anyway, We're all just dripping wet with sweat. And so they just wanted to show off their power, And it was like an intrusion. It was like having a party and the neighbor calls the cops on you. So then after they left, then we went back and finished our sweat.
That was it. That was the man, Tommy Chong. Thank you, sir, for doing the show. What a conversation. Am I right? The subjects covered. Covered it all. Yes, informative. Guys, have an incredible week. I love y'all. This meant a lot to me that you listened and that you spent the entire hour plus with me, Josh Peck, the Curious Podcast. Wow. So enjoy your week. Treat yourself. Do something nice for yourself. What do you think? What are you on the fence about today? Whether or not to have lunch out? Were you going to maybe pack a lunch because you're trying to, save a couple shekels? Well, look, that's a good thing. But also, if you got the dough and you're like, I don't have to go out for lunch. All right? Treat yourself. Have that burrito bowl or that, 6-inch sub. or is there a Cheesecake Factory near you? God, Cheesecake Factory is good. I love it. That brown bread, where do they get that from? What is that, like from a bakery in heaven? Like, what? It's so good, and they're so cute, those waiters and waitresses in those white outfits. So helpful. Why am I giving Cheesecake Factory a free ad? They've never done anything for me. We're not in a fight, but I mean, here I am hawking their product. It'd be nice to be like, hey, here's a coupon for a free strawberry lemonade next time you come in. Thanks for your loyalty. Just saying, putting it out there. Anyway, I like the Buffalo Blast. What? You didn't ask. Why am I even offering this information? I'm in a weird tangent. Guys, have an incredible week. Love you. Thank you again for listening. You're the best. Okay, bye.